Welcome back. You're with us on your favorite morning show. We call it Rise and Shine. And Buddhima did mention that we'll be having two very important guests, two special people on board Rise and Shine this morning. When you talk about bands such as the Moonstones, the Super Golden Chimes, the Gypsies, and then when you talk about the name Clarence Wijewardena, well, I think the Sri Lankan music industry all knows who Clarence Wijewardena is. But when it comes to the guest we have today in Mr. Nimal Punchehewa and his daughter Kushi Punchehewa, of course, Nimal is a person who has been with all those bands, who's backed all those bands and has taken his musical career to the highest level. Good morning to you.
Good morning, how are you, Good morning, Buddhima.
And also to you, Kushi. Good morning to you. So it's really nice and it's an honor to have you on board, and especially when you mention those names of the bands, like a person who's been with all those bands, because now, of course, those bands I don't think do exist anymore.
The Gypsies are there still.
Yeah, obviously.
But the Super Golden Chimes, now we disbanded a long time ago. But we did have two shows in Sri Lanka, and of course we toured Australia. Yeah.
All right, so let's get starting off things like how did you get into this? Like, say, drumming. Obviously, first person thing. I like to take a career as singing when it comes to the music. But then to take into drumming, how did you say? Who inspired you to get into it?
Well, my mum inspired me for music. She was a piano teacher and English teacher. So at the age of I think 11, I had a set of drums. And then my mother used to play the piano, and then I used to play drums. That's how I just got into music, basically.
So you had a strong musical background when it comes to the family.
From the family.
I think that really helped you to get into this field.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah. So how is it like, perhaps, from that point onwards? So it's not only drumming that you have pioneered in, but also in the solo part of it. So how is it like getting into solo and perhaps making sure that you balance both together?
When my mom used to play the piano, so I used to play the drums. And then my father used to sing a little bit,
So it became a family affair.
Yeah, at home. Yeah, and then, when I started really playing for bands, that's the time I got, involved in singing, basically. So going back to 70s, I was more towards Bee Gees and stuff, So that's the time I started singing. So predominantly I sang English songs, and then later going to Australia, then I switch on to singles as well.
So let's say, so you used to sing while you play the drums.
Yes,
so how hard it is, because you need to concentrate on two aspects, like your voice and your hand movement.
At the start, at the very beginning, you had to concentrate. You're using two hands and the 2 feet, and then of course the voice, comes into it. At the start, it was a bit hard, but then going along with, if you master about 5-6 songs, then you get into the groove of it, and then there's no problem now. So unless you go through a different style of drumming, for example, if you go for samba and so on, with the samba beat, it becomes hard to sing, because but it's very rare. So.
Kushi, before getting on to you, one more question from you, is that when it comes to drumming, you get the acoustic version of the drums and you get the electronic version of the drums. So what do you pioneered in?
Well, at the very beginning, going back to 70s, we only had acoustic drums. And then now what I do is, in Australia, I couple both actually. I use 2 modules of electronic, and then I got a 22-piece drum kit. And then 2 modules where I can get even tabla in Yamaha modules, and then of the snare and the hi-hats, all the cymbals. So I use normal cymbals, and especially the snare has to be acoustic. You need that real punch on that.
Absolutely, yes. So moving on to Kushi, I would like to ask you a question. So how was it like getting into the music industry? Where did you start off?
I started off when I was born, really. My first song was at the age of 3. I made it up, About a Red Sky.
Amazing.
It came from nowhere.
Yeah. So born with talent.
Well, yeah. And I would love to be in the music industry. I plan to go on The Voice Australia next year. Well, this year, hopefully. So fingers crossed.
So obviously your father must have been the backbone of your musical career. He might have given you a lot of tips.
Definitely, yes. Growing up, I looked up to my father, and actually I got into music more so when I got auditioned for the Australian Girls Choir, and so I joined the choir and I was there for a long time, and that's where I actually broadened my talent.
So do you like to be one of the very few female drummers around the circuit, like follow your father?
Actually, yes, I would. I've had a few lessons with my father, and I should actually continue with that.
Because I think when it comes to drumming, very few females would have opted to do that.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.